Well, Simon, thank you for sitting down with me for a moment. And I'm going to start with that question because it's interesting, right? You come from such a strong legacy, family business, all of this stuff that your parents wanted to pass on to you, and now you have definitely kind of created your own. Do you think that that's part of your purpose? Do you think that you have kind of found your purpose through starting your own business?
I feel, Natalie, thank you for asking that question. I feel like it was so driven into me to take over and to work in a family business that I, at the same time, also felt the freedom there. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to continue with that freedom. That's why I never would fit in properly in an organization. And I just naturally started to make some content, and more and more when I was making more, I was like, how do I organize it? How do I make sure that I don't get lost myself? Like, oh, I made something before. Well, where is it? So I was thinking about a conversation where they asked Obama, what would you do next? Mm-hmm. And one of his goals was to make a library. And I was just like, oh, but that's a little bit boring, you know? To make like a library. Who goes now to a library?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? It's a great thing. And then I thought, how cool would it be if I have a digital library,
right?
And then people can access it around the world, including myself.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I can actually
go back to your own
things.
notes, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, and then I can keep building on that until the music stops.
Right. But even then, even when the music stops, your work continues. It'll always be there for you to go back to, or other people to go back to, and that's something really special. So it's interesting. You were talking a little bit too with John about your family situation. You have siblings that worked in the company, right? Are they still working in the company now?
Yeah, I have 4 siblings.
Got it.
3 of them took over the company.
Really?
Yeah.
So were you always the rebel?
According to my family, yes. I am. I'm like, no. Okay, I was just, being normal.
Yeah.
They're like, no, but always, in school and that, you're always like.
You were always the one that stood out a little bit.
I was just like, for me, it just made sense. I warned them, my father particularly, that there would be a struggle within the siblings. I found out later that they were also told the same thing, that they will take over the company. I'm like, that's not a good strategy.
Right, to tell everybody the same thing. It's a little awkward.
And then start, start in terms of start fighting when you put them on a company.
Oh my gosh.
My sister, my brother, they were both a little bit earlier in the company, although there's not a big difference between that. My brother's 1.5 years older than me, my sister's 2.5 years older than me, and my younger sister is 1 year younger than me.
So you're all close together.
Very close.
Right.
So we grew up very close with the friends, similar friends, or at least I knew all of them. Right. And it was a process for them to stay in the company and to take over the company. Funny enough, I did try to help even when I left.
Really?
To make things work out in
Organize
a good way.
Them. Yeah, a little bit.
But my younger brother, he never felt like he fit into the company from early stage.
Yeah.
I remember we had a manager, and her job, the first thing in the morning, was to call my younger brother.
Oh no!
He's like, "Where are you?
Where are you
You're supposed
today?
to come to the office." I told my father, "That's not the job of a manager to call."
Right.
My brother to ask him to come to the office.
Yeah.
And he was just not engaged. I respected that. In hindsight, I respected that a lot. But the 4 of us, we were like, no, we were very much engaged. Now I'm out, and I'm glad that I went out.
Living your own life, finding your own purpose and things like that. What do you think about that? Do you think you found your purpose in what you're doing now?
I do, because I get a lot of energy. I wake up with I want to do this and that, especially when I'm also involved in making content around it. I get very excited about that, and I just also think that if I look, for example, at my siblings, like my brother, for example, he's super into Les Mills. I don't know if you know that. It's like a program. He's on the side also personal trainer, and if I see him standing in front of a group giving like a CrossFit training or a body jump, he's like, do this and that. I'm like, where's that energy?
Yeah, where exactly in your work and your day-to-day.
Yeah, when you're working, he's like the finance guy, the cool guy.
For sure.
And then he's like, you know?
No, yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah.
something that we take not for granted, but it is so incredible when you get to see people in their element.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I have the privilege of, you know, seeing you in your element now, like on these interviews and making content. I see John in his element, doing his thing, talking to people, all of these things, and it just brings out the very best of you, right? So I'm so happy that you have kind of found that within what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that it shows not only in your professional life, obviously, and all the stuff that you're putting out there and your clients and things like that, but your personal one as well, I can imagine.
Yeah, but it started with failures and mistakes, you know.
For sure.
I remember in the beginning, I was just so unsuccessful. I was like dodging the manager because he was trying to fire me. My colleagues were calling, like, don't come to the office. He's searching for you.
Oh no, so you were running away.
I was like hiding and meanwhile trying to get my first clients.
Right. I mean, what did that first couple of years look like?
The first year, I was just fighting to not be at the bottom. We had like a ranking,
right?
And then I was fighting not to be like the one at the bottom. And that was it. That was my only goal. Don't be at the bottom.
Just be a little above.
Yes.
Oh no. What's the most valuable lesson you think you learned in that time period?
That people would just not help you by default.
Right.
Because the company was not training me, the manager was like, whatever, and you need to figure stuff out yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And I needed to figure out a lot myself. Some people did help me. If you walk up to people, you're surprised. I was surprised to see if you just ask them generally, like, I'm struggling. I see you are not struggling.
Please help. Yeah.
Can you tell me, please, how are you doing this? And then, you know, people are like, okay, I will tell you, but don't tell the other people, okay?
Well, it's amazing. I think that's kind of what you've built your, you know, LinkedIn following around, right? Is that kind of same thing. People are coming to you for help now that you are the expert. How does that feel?
It's a strange feeling because I'm still feeling always like that I need to run. I need to always try to avoid failure or avoid like being at the bottom of that ranking.
Interesting, yeah. So you still kind of keep that same fear with you now?
Yeah, I always feel I need to keep running, avoiding, you know, stopping, standing still, and feeling that you know, things are not moving forward.
Right.
And it's a weird feeling because even if I have like a very good month, I'm already worried because
about
I'm like next month.
Yeah.
And I just always have this like, okay, I need to keep going. I need to, because I know what happened in the past. It cannot be in that place anymore.
Yeah, you need to keep the momentum.
Yeah.
That can be stressful for sure. And I'm sure that you feel that. I mean, it's kind of like what John was talking about before, running your own business as an entrepreneur, you know, you're tied to it all the time. Yeah. Because you're kind of carrying the world on your shoulders, right?
Yeah, well, you know, in my situation, I am part of an organization, but the part is that I need to generate my own business, and I do get like, you know, I work on commission basis.
Right.
And when I do explain that to clients, I'm just very transparent. I'm like, look, I'm going to give you X, Y, Z. This is how I make my money.
Yeah.
If things don't work out, I earn zero.
Right.
And it's the same thing works with an entrepreneur. If you give services or products, you don't sell anything, there's no revenue, you still have overheads. I still have my overheads because you know, all of this is not for free. Making content is not for free.
It's not for free. All
having
of it
your
costs
website,
money.
this, that.
Yeah.
I also have like support team that I'm paying, and you know, sometimes you do feel like, yeah, what if it doesn't work out? But I'm more thinking like, I gotta move to the next thing.
Right.
I'm also about
level up, find the next challenge, and see.
Yes.
You strike me as a person who's not afraid of a challenge, for sure. You know, being one to branch out and things like that.
Yeah, I try my best to move forward on things and to take on a challenge. Definitely.
Right. Yeah. Well, how is it like only working on commission?
I think it's very hard because the bills always come.
Right.
And that's the hard part. The bills always come. Every month, consistently, there are bills. And now I'm also having a family. I have 2 daughters. And I remember it, when my wife was pregnant, and for the first daughter, I was like, okay, but I cannot have these ups and downs anymore.
Yeah.
That would really stress me out because I'm also providing for
your family.
For my family. And one client of mine told me a story. He's like, Simon, I don't believe in, any religion or anything, but I had this Muslim friend of mine that I'm very close with. And when I had my first child, he told me that in his belief, they said, every child comes with a bag of gold. That's what they believe.
Interesting, yeah.
And he said, you know what, Simon? Actually, things worked out in my favor. I got an upgrade in my job. I got more money.
Wow.
And every time I got a child, he had 3,
yeah.
things became better. And I was like wrapping my hand. I said, you can't wrap your head around it.
Right,
it just happened.
Right.
And I was just thinking like, thanks, man. I appreciate that because I'm about to go through the same process.
Yeah.
And funny enough, it did work out that way.
Really? So your child came with some gold?
Yeah, it did. It did come with progression.
Right.
Also financially, and somehow it just worked out. And sometimes you cannot place these things.
Yeah. No, you're kind of at the mercy of the waves occasionally with that stuff.
Yeah. Natalie, I just wanted to ask you also a question.
That's true, because we're meeting for the first time.
Yeah. So I heard that you're mixed.
I am mixed.
Have you grown up in the U.S. your whole life?
So I've always grown up in the U.S., but my parents always made it a point to take us back to where they came from. So Nicaragua I've been to 3 or 4 times. It's a little complicated to get back there. And Argentina is more like every other year. Because we have a huge family down there, much like I'm sure your family in Chile is kind of the same. Uncles and aunts and cousins, more than I can count. We're having a reunion now for Christmas. I think it's 800 people.
Wow.
Yeah. So absolutely incredible, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm also mixed. I told you this before, and I just was wondering because I always got that question in the Netherlands, like, oh, you're Dutch. Are you really Dutch? Mm-hmm. Did you have that same question when you grew up in the U.S.? Did people say, are you American or are you really American?
Yes, and Miami is a special case. It's almost its own country in a way because it's such a city of immigrants. Much like I'm sure you see Dubai seems to be also like a city of immigrants, you know? Where it's almost like you're not really in the US, so you're not really American, but at the same time, obviously you grew up outside of South America, so you're not really Latino either. So it does put you in kind of this mid-range, especially being someone, very like white presenting and all of these things. People are surprised that I can speak fluent Spanish. They're like, oh no, I didn't realize.
I just wanted to talk about you.
Exactly. Sometimes it's true. So it does put you in a very interesting place. It's kind of your own little box that you have to figure out. And I know John kind of feels a similar way, having grown up in that same shared experience. So what about you in the Netherlands? So was it Chilean and Netherlands? That's your mix?
Yes, that's my
Dutch?
mix. And it was just, I still till today when I introduce myself to people, even from the Netherlands, and I say I'm Dutch. Are you really Dutch? Were you born in the Netherlands? I'm like, and in the beginning I felt very awkward about that. Mm-hmm. And I just realized that, I guess, in some with some people, they just want to know.
Right.
They just want to know, like, where are you really from?
Yeah.
They want to figure it out. It's like a box they want to.
They want to know. Well, it's funny too because it is in Miami specifically, but in the U.S., we get that question, "Where are you from?" all the time because nobody is actually from there. Yeah. Even John and I, who were born in the same hospital actually, which is a whole other story. That's so strange. Random coincidence that we figured out later. But even those who are born there, the family is never from there. So that almost becomes a question that I too am comfortable asking people in other places, and then I don't realize that sometimes it's kind of offensive.
Yeah.
People take offense to it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see different reactions that you get.
Yeah, you do see different directions, but you also try to find commonality. Like,
absolutely, yeah. Find the common ground all the time.
Like if somebody says like, oh, I have some relation to some Spanish heritage, you can believe, oh, I speak Spanish. Oh, exactly. I also have...
jump into it for sure.
Exactly.
I mean, you and I, right? One country apart,
technically. Yes, exactly.
There you go. Yeah. You find it. And also, it's interesting now, we live in such a, this is going to sound silly, but a global world, right? We're all interconnected all the time via social media, via the internet, and all of these things. I mean, you have really kind of, you and John both, and I don't mean to age you guys here, and like Gen Z, right? But you've seen the progression of the internet. How has that changed the way that you approach your day-to-day life and those conversations that you have?
Well, I just remember before when I needed to go on the internet, we had the telephone line, and then we just, you know, we dialed in to the home telephone, and you hear this weird noise like,
oh no.
And it stopped all the internet when my father got the phone bill.
Yeah.
He's like, who created this bill? And we were all pointing at each other, you know?
One of the five.
And then there was no more internet for a while. Just in the beginning it was also exciting, the Facebook and this and the, you know, the messaging. And now I look at the internet, I'm also quite skeptic.
Right.
Because once you put stuff out there, you cannot take it back. So I like to share. I don't have much to hide, but I do have some rules that I need to abide by. Like for example, my children. I will not share pictures of my children because now they are cute and they're little and and they will look up to me and follow everything I say. But maybe in 20 years they like, yeah, why were you making all these videos about me and just throwing it out on the internet? Yeah. Maybe they will have a thought about it, and I cannot get their consent about it.
Right.
The same way I would maybe feel different about my parents if I would grow up this age, and I would grow up later and I would see everything about myself there, and I'll be maybe I could hold that against my my parents. So I'm just avoiding that completely by just not sharing that part. But for the rest, I feel that the internet and the digital world can allow me to connect with so much people in the world, and that's fantastic. Like in my profession, before COVID, we needed to meet people face to face. That was the way. I wasted so much time, Natalie, meeting people, meeting the wrong people, and finding that out only, or getting ghosted.
Yeah.
Before, and you're on the way already, and then they're like, "Oh, can I make it?"
Yeah.
And
last
now,
minute.
90% of my conversations are on Zoom. And no matter where they are, even if they're in the building next door, it's on Zoom.
Right.
And if somebody cannot make it, fine.
Right, doesn't matter. I'm not in a car for 30 minutes, or trying to get somewhere else.
If you're seeing that it's not working, which rarely happens, but still, you can cut it short after 10 or 15 minutes, and go your own ways.
Go your separate way.
The efficiency has gone through the roof because of that, and also it allows me also to connect with people all over the world. So I build up also a client base much faster, from other countries.
Yeah.
Because who cares where you're based?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. I really wanted to touch on what you said though about kind of your children and not sharing them online because you can't get their consent. That's a wonderful thing, because I think that that's something that we take for granted, or people take for granted. And you're right, like once you post something up there, it stays there forever. And I just wanted to thank you for that, and I appreciate that. As somebody who works not only on social media, but also just in the entertainment world in general, these are things that parents sometimes don't think about. So I definitely appreciate that.
Thank you. And I understand also that there's a lot of innocence in that happening, but I've also seen the corporate companies, how they, they're not caring about people.
Right.
They just want to make money. Every single company, even if they give stuff for free. And once you put it in that platform, they see it as their content.
Right.
So if they want to use, for example, my children's content and create advertisement campaigns on it, or use it how they want, you have given it to them.
The right, yeah.
Or if they want to, put a demographic on you and use your data of that, and look, I know they always say, "Oh yeah, just give us the power" and stuff like this. I just know they only care about money.
Yeah,
and that's fine. They're business, I just don't want to be in that awkward situation.
For sure, definitely. I mean, digital ownership is something very interesting now too, and that's
it's big. It's going to become bigger. I'm European, so we have the European Commission now very aggressively diving into that, but they're still so far behind in terms of what they can catch up with.
Right.
But let's see how that will play out.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's SAG, Screen Actors Guild in America, just fought a whole war on AI and all these things, like all these things that we can do now with people's faces and stuff.
How do you feel about that? Because you're also an actress.
I am.
And you guys went on a massive strike.
We did, and we just won, thankfully, a pretty good deal for higher wages, and then also they are putting some stipulations around AI, but it was interesting. We were just at a conference a couple days ago where we were talking about AI and how everything is going to change, in the next 10 years or so, even faster than it has these last 10 years, and it's already been pretty fast.
Yeah, it's been pretty fast.
So, I mean, I feel good for now, thankfully. We've kind of fought this fight to ensure that people can't replicate faces of live actors and things like that, because in that case, you could hire, honestly, you could hire me for, $200 to stand there and then put Anne Hathaway's face on it or whoever it may be. And then all of a sudden you have this name actress who's worth millions of dollars, right? For essentially free.
Yeah.
So that's like what we're still trying to fight a little bit. So we'll see. But yeah. I think that's something to be revisited at a later date for sure.
Yeah, it's and again it comes back to don't just take people for their word. I've unfortunately seen that, especially with these corporations. They say, no, don't worry, we're not going to misuse it. The moment they can make money from it, they will make money from it,
right?
Because the stakeholders want them to make money from it. And I've seen just over and over with these investment companies that just came and said, "Oh, take our word for it. This is going to be like this. Just tell your clients like that." And if it's not written down,
it doesn't exist. Yeah, if it's not in writing, it doesn't happen.
Most of the time, they will just not do it.
Right.
And then you end up saying, "But you said this. You promised that."
Yeah.
No. This is business. You were the fool to believe me. That's how they will play it.
Yeah. Well, could you leave me then with, because again, I am, I'm the young person in the room today. Could you leave me with one more nugget of business wisdom? That's something that you've learned from your failures along the way so far. And successes, of course.
Well, I mean, I'm just learning it the hard way myself. I'm still experiencing a lot. But what I've felt as well, that yes, there is a lot of fact checking going on, and you can do a lot of due diligence, which I do, and research, but also listen to your gut feeling.
Yeah.
If that voice or that stomach feeling inside of you says, something is off, don't ignore it.
Right.
I swear, I've had that before. I ignored it. No matter how old you are, even when you were 7 or 8 years old, that person that came in the room, you're like, ooh, there's something off. Listen to that. And later you will find out why that was the case.
Good advice. Go with your gut. All right. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you, Natalie. It was lovely chatting with you.
Lovely chatting with you too.